here today in Los Angeles, I think, is the worst nightmare for so many people who live here. You know, Los Angeles is a largely so-called minority-majority city. There are just as many people of color here as there are white people. And in fact, 10% of the population of Los Angeles County, come with me, which is one of the largest counties, the largest by population in the United States, is undocumented. There could be as many as 1 million undocumented people who live here in Los Angeles. And what you saw today, and what all of these people are protesting, is large-scale immigration enforcement raids. What you're looking at on the left-hand side of your screen is this protest from the sky. The helicopters are directly above me. You saw, I'm sorry for the noise, but you saw tactical officers on things like Bearcat vehicles, flashbang grenades on the city streets of Los Angeles, which largely felt like, as some people described in local media, that the military was on the streets of Los Angeles. Historically, the Los Angeles Police Department does not cooperate with immigration enforcement efforts. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department does not cooperate with immigration enforcement efforts. But when you have got ICE in Los Angeles showing up reportedly at Home Depot, where many undocumented people go to get work as day laborers, you know the National Day Laborer Organizing Network well, many of those people responded in the wake of the fires here in Los Angeles. When you've got ICE showing up outside of places like schools, it quite literally is striking fear into the heart of people all throughout this community. And it is, I think it's fair to say, the worst fear of so many people here who live in Los Angeles and who have heard President Trump threaten that they would do this. But when this day comes on a Friday morning that stretches into a Friday afternoon, people in Los Angeles are mobilizing and they are very upset.
Alright, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak, Vadash. Double honor to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the great millstone, who were very well, very beautifully. Double salutations to the Akim I heard pushing his gospel, truth and sincerity, to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is Brother Quana Watts from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. Lord will, it is edifying, Lord will, it is straight to the point. And as you had seen, right, and if you've been paying attention, you know, there has been mass arrests of migrants over there in California. I think it was like 40 or 50 people have been, you know, snatched up, right? And they're going all over the place, right? From schools to job sites to really you name it, right? Even going into the immigration court, you know what I mean? The immigration building, you know, and snatching people up that are, you know, coming out, you know, after, you know, checking their visa status and or, you know, applying for a visa, right, trying to do it the right way, the way that the government ultimately told them that they're supposed to do, you know, getting snatched up and saying, hey, you're not supposed to be here, you're illegal, and you know, detaining them and arresting them, you know, and people are rising up, right? People are pissed off at the way the government's been going. And see, it's not just because of these ICE raids, right, which is a huge portion of it, but see, at the same time, you know, you got inflation, right? Prices going up, wages staying the same. These people are already, they were already, you know, feeling that pressure, you know, economically, socially, you know, and now again with these ICE raids, it's ultimately just putting that cherry on top, man. And now you're seeing the people start to rise up, right? We read in Job 20 and 24, right, that the hand of the wicked shall come upon them. Right, every hand of the wicked shall come upon them. When you go into that word wicked, it goes back to laborers, man. right? And these are everyday people, or as you see in these videos, these people protesting. These are everyday people, right? People that are, again, contributing, right, to the economy by going to work, paying their taxes, and so on and so forth, man. But hey, now, as we're gonna get in this article, they're about to send in the National Guard. So, first, subscribe to the channel. Hopeful like 3. It says the time of Jacob's trouble is near, right? And that's exactly the time that we're in. We're in the time where Jacob's trouble is ultimately going to come to pass, right? It says Northern Kingdom first, Southern Kingdom the worst, right? So let's go ahead and jump. And you can go and subscribe and, watch the rest of this video. It's about 12 and a half minutes. But I want to jump to this article right here real quick that I have, again, adding to this, right? Because based on the protest and the rioting that's been happening, because it went from protest to now it's a riot, as we're going to get into. They're saying, hey, you know what, we're going to send in the National Guard, right? It says Trump's border czar says he's sending National Guard to fight LA anti-ICE protests as clashes continue in the second day, right? It says, and this article was, from a couple hours ago. President Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said he plans to send the National Guard to Los Angeles to combat protests against ICE that began this weekend following immigration raids in the city. This is a quote from him. It says, "We are making Los Angeles safer. Mayor Bass should be thanking us. She says they are going to mobilize. Guess what? We are already mobilizing. We are going to bring the National Guard in tonight." So they're going to bring in the National Guard, and basically close up this situation. But see, again, this is only going to make it worse, doing that, and you see is right here, you got cars burning, people driving around in their, on their, dirt bikes and whatnot in the street. And then at the top, it says California Governor Gavin Newsom responding, calling Homan's threat purposefully inflammatory. See, Esau is, they're, what is it? It's order ab chaos, right? They have a saying in the Latin, order ab chaos, right, which means order out of chaos, right? See, Esau creates the situations, right, that put people in the state of desperation, the state of agitation, in the state of basically being unhinged, right? These people are pissed off, right? They're worried about whether they're going to be apprehended or not, and Esau is the cause of all of this, and see, now you have him saying, you know what, we're going to come in and we're going to bring in order. We're going to come in and we're going to bring in the National Guard, and we're going to sit here and fix this situation, bring down the protest, bring this, that, and the third. But see, you're the ones that caused that shit, man. Right? Esau Edom is the one that caused the situation. All you had to do is leave these fucking people alone, right? Because a lot of these people he's apprehending, these people are doing things the way that the government is telling them to do it, right? Going and getting visas, going through the immigration process, and so on and so forth. Esau slashing people's visas, making them, not valid anymore, right? Taking away, everything from them, which is causing them to rise up. And as we, go through, we're going to see a few pictures, man. Flash grenades, fireworks, shit burning in the streets, Look, smoke grenades, It says that move is purposely inflammatory and will only escalate tensions, he said in his statement. It says LA authorities are able to access law enforcement assistance at a moment's notice, right? So they say, hey, LAPD is there's no need for the National Guard because LAPD can come in. And, as you continue to watch that video, there's a dude who's sitting in a car, and he says that, LAPD, he met with LAPD. They say they're not going to get into it, but yet some of the videos, you had LAPD there with ICE, so the situation is already, building, right? Which, again, this whole situation is, leading, right, and gonna build into what? Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, man, right? Where Esau is ultimately going to, come down having great wrath, and really force the masses, right, to go along and get along with his NWO, his New World Order, or die. This is kind of the sentiment that Esau is pushing out there. you know um right, it says it comes after tense confrontation between police and demonstrators took place in LA on Friday. It says in response to operations by immigration and customs enforcement agents who arrested at least 44 people on immigration violations before starting again on Saturday at a Home Depot in Paramount section of the city, right? So they're going around, just again, they're going to homes, they're going to schools, they're going to job sites, they're going to really everywhere, even again the immigration offices, right? Snatching people up, man, and people are pissed off about it, you know? And that's really all I wanted to get on this, this article. Again, there's more pictures, people in distress, ICE agents, border agents, and so forth, so on and so forth, man. People are just, they're done, with this shit, man, which is again, going into Jacob's trouble, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7, just hitting the point. It says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it, right? None. No time in history is going to be like the time that's fastly approaching, man. We're talking about all the different, like 70 AD, all the different, the siege of Samaria, right? Would you read in, I think it's 1st or 2nd Kings, the 6th chapter on the 24th verse, where women were eating their babies and so on and so on. All these different events that have happened within history, and even, recent events, that we see, within secular history and so on and so forth, all these different things, right, put into one situation, right? And even then it's going to far exceed that, which is again going to be what? Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, right? It says it is even the time of Jacob's trouble, and there's a reason why it's called Jacob's trouble, because as we see, since Trump came into office, his main focus, right, has been on who? The Israelites, the so-called Hispanics, right, so-called natives, right, and at one point, right, which I think they're still coming after it, right, they're coming after the 14th Amendment, which is the natural born citizenship, which was set up for the slaves, right, set up for the so-called blacks, right, that were, the slaves, man, right, to sit there and say, hey, you know what, and which was ultimately, to get them to pay, taxes and, and further enslave them and whatnot, but nonetheless, he's trying to get rid of that, right, which would ultimately eliminate citizenship for damn near all blacks, right, even now, you know what I mean, as well as those, migrants and whatnot that come over here that ultimately have a child over here, and that child would get, immunity because it would be a United States citizen, right, under the 14th Amendment, so on and so forth, and they're trying to get rid of that so that way they can get rid of the Israelites, right, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, because that's who their main target is, Ezekiel 35:5, right, the perpetual hatred for the Israelites, man, we see it happen, and we see it, today, and this is why it's called what? Jacob's trouble, right, with Jacob is synonymous, right, with Israel, right, going back to Genesis 35:10, right, Jacob wrestling with that, the angel, right, and then again having his name changed from Jacob to Israel, right, so it says, but he shall be saved out of it, and that's talking about the elect, man, right, because the times we're coming into, right, is going to be a very harsh time, and this is why, the prophets, right, are out here, taking account of these different things, man, and bringing them to the masses and showing you, hey, this is the time that we're in. This is the time that's fastly approaching, warning the people, as we're told to Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, the 17th verse. Matter of fact, let's grab that. Ezekiel 3 and verse 17, it says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel, right? A watchman, a watch, someone who's going to stand, upon their watch and look out. Right? As the scriptures say, a prudent man foreseeth the evil. And this is what the prophets are doing. They're foreseeing the evil that's coming, right, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, and again, warning the masses, man. It says, therefore, hear the word of my mouth and give them warning from me, right? We're giving a warning, blowing the trumpet on these different things that are taking place, Esau is about to come down, tough on the people, man. And I want to jump to this. Second Ezra 16 and verse 68. It says, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. Esau is waiting to use his blessing. He's waiting to use that sword, which the modern day sword is the gun. Right? He's waiting, right? When you look at these different videos on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, so on and so forth, Esau has been practicing since he was a kid, right? All these little Edomite kids and whatnot, these kids go out here and they hunt, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, man. They go out here and they hunt. They know how to use these guns. They have shooting competitions and whatnot. Kids are in these competitions too, man. So they've basically been training damn near their whole lives, to be able to use these weapons, man. Why? Because it's their blessing, and they're waiting to use that blessing, right? It says, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols, right? They're going to snatch people up, right? And as we read in Revelations 2 and 10, right, that there are going to be some of us that are going to be snatched up and thrown into these prison houses and FEMA camps and re-education camps or isolation facilities, whatever you want to call them. Right, some of us are going to be, hammed up, and that's why it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer, right? Because at the end of the day, we understand, right, that it's all part of, the trial of our faith, the testing of our faith, which will prove, again, who truly loves Yahweh Bashim El Shai, because that's what Jacob's trouble is. It's that ultimate test, it's that final test. But again, we read, it said, but he shall be saved out of it. That's talking about the elect, right? Because even in that, right, the Lord is going to have our back. Yes, a test, right? When you go to deal with a test at school or whatnot, you don't, it's not open book. You don't get no help. You kind of in, but see, this is a different kind of test. The elect are going to be proving their faith all the way up into this time. And see, in Jacob's trouble, the Lord is going to help them and protect the elect. Lord will we be of that number. The Lord is going to help us and protect us, man. Verse 69 says, they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and reproach and trodden under foot. It says, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Right? And we understand that Esau sees the prophets. Esau sees the prophets. He sees, his kingdom going down. So he's got to speed up and establish his NWO. So he's gonna use all his little tools and whatnot. He's got his robot armies and whatnot. Esau gonna come down and with a straight wrath. You know what I mean? Like we've never seen before. It says they shall be like madmen, sparing none. They don't care. When you go back into that video, there was a dude. Matter of fact, let's see if we can play it real quick. We'll continue on a little bit. Right. So as you've seen, right, the dude was sitting there talking to him, you know what I mean, and one of the dudes he was talking to, right, when you go and you look at the color version of it, which I think it's on another YouTube short or whatnot, but when you look at it, that dude is he's sitting there talking to one of the ICE agents or the FBI agents, and he looked like he might be so-called Hispanic. So that's who he was talking to. But nonetheless, right, when you look at the others that were around, they look like Edomites, and they had this look like they didn't give a fuck on their face, man. Like they were ready to go at the drop of a dime to do whatever the hell they needed to do. Whip out that gun and you start mowing people down, man. You know, they had that look on their face, man. And that, again, it says right here, it says verse 71, they should be like madmen, sparing none. They're not gonna care, old, young, woman, man, child. They don't care, man. Babies. Shit, Esau, you know, there's a place here in Arizona. It's called Herd Museum. Like I heard you, like a Herd Museum. And in there, they have in the casing, right, a glass casing, baby shackles, bro. We're talking about baby shackles, bro. Baby cuffs. Like, take your thumb and your first finger and make it into like a circle. And that's how big the cuffs were, bro. Like, it wasn't, these weren't like regular adult cuffs. They were baby cuffs, man. Esau don't give a shit, man. And this is who we're about to see come down having great wrath. This is who we're about to see come in like a flood. It says, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. And again, these guys are the ICE agents, man. They come into people's homes, man. Here soon, they're going to be coming to people's homes in droves. In droves. You know, and they were talking about building a civilian army, if you will. You know, to come and help with the the mass deportations and shit. A civilian army. Shit about to get real fucking bad out here, man. It says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Because as we see everything coming down, and as we see, you know, all hell, you know, about to break loose, hey, the Lord is always, he's gonna, in Wisdom of Solomon 3:9, it says, they that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him, for grace and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect. Right, which when, you know, when you go to Psalms 148, tells you that the saints are, you know, of the children of Israel. The children of Israel are the saints, man. You know, so the elect of the nation of Israel is who the Lord has care for. And see, these are the ones that he's going to protect in the times to come. You know, when Esau comes in like a flood with his military and, you know, to establish his NWO, the Lord's going to raise up that standard, man, for the elect. Isaiah 59 and verse 19, it says, let me highlight it. It says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai shall lift up a standard against him. Right? So let's go ahead and we'll jump into the blue letter, and we're going to grab that word standard. Right? Isaiah 59 and 19. Raise up a standard against him. Right? We look at that word standard. It says to flee, right? Strong's H5127. Let's try to play that.
Strong's H5127. Noose.
Right. And it says to flee, escape, right? To take flight, to depart, disappear. Right? Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to intervene, man. He's going to intervene and protect his elect from what's coming. Right? Lord, will we be of that number, man? Great miracles are going to be done for us, man. You know, and this is why I said, then shall it be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Right? Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is going to protect us, man. This is why, you know, scriptures say that we shall not fear evil tidings, bad news. Why? Because at the end of the day, this is all building towards, the downfall of Esau Edom, right? As prophecy goes on, Esau's going to believe that he's going to establish his NWO. But see, as we read in, the scriptures, in Job 20 and 23, right? While he's, eating, while he's filling his belly, the Lord's going to cast his fury upon him, right? He's going to, he's not going to allow his enterprise to ultimately go through, right? The Lord's going to, disappoint his enterprise, disappoint, his devices, man, and remove him, out of power. So really, again, as we see these things popping up and as we see these things happening, right, we understand what's coming, right? We're counting the cost as we should every day, meditating on the things that are coming, but as well as we understand what this is leading to, and it's leading to a righteous rulership being established, So, we really, shouldn't be worried about what's coming, man. The only thing that we should be focused on is getting right with Yahweh Shem El Shai, and, making sure that we're doing what is necessary, right, in order to be accepted of Yahweh Shem El Shai, which is getting into the scriptures, man, to the best of our ability, But I want to go ahead and jump back to Isaiah. It's like 2nd Esdras 16 and verse 74. It says, "Hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand." And Jacob's trouble is right around the corner, right? Jacob's trouble is right around the corner. It says, "But I will deliver you from the same." Again, here we go. Right, starting out the Jeremiah, the 30th chapter. The Lord saying what? But he shall be saved out of it. Talking about the elect of the nation of Israel. Right? It says, "Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide." And the Lord's going to guide us in those days, man. When push comes to shove, and the Lord is gonna sustain us. Right? What does it say? It says, let's grab that real quick. 2nd Esdras 2. What was that? 27. 2nd Esdras 2 and 27. It says, "Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance." Right, man? And the Lord is going to, he's going to protect us. This is why it says, "Be ye not afraid, neither doubt," man. For the Lord is your guide. Verse 28, "The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith the Lord," man. Scriptures say, right, that, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. So Esau coming with his robot army, using his blessing, his sword, and the Lord's not going to allow this damn devil to go ahead and, take us out, man, unless it be for, the name of Yahweh Shem El Shai's sake, right, being martyrs, right, for the name of Yahweh Shem El Shai, which is ultimately an extremely great honor, and also ultimately is a testament of your faith to Yahweh Shem El Shai, man, But it says, "My hand shall cover thee, so that thy children shall not see hell." So the Lord's going to protect us, our families, and Lord will, we going to get out of here, together, man. But nonetheless, let's go back. Verse 75, it says, "Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide." It says, "And the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord God, let not your sins weigh you down, let not your iniquities lift up themselves." So, these are the times that we're in. Esau is pushing hard, right? Again, we're seeing, the order Abkeo starting to, take root, right? Again, Esau's causing the chaos, and then here he comes with his, trying to establish order, right? Soon it's going to be it's not going to be, that it's going to be him bringing forth the solution, which is the RFID micro C-HIP, which we know is the mark of the beast, which will be, again, the climax, right, of Jacob's trouble, right? The mandatory implementation of the RFID micro C-HIP, So keep your head on a swivel, man. Stay prayed up, stay faithful, man. Continue to watch. Hey, we're almost out of here, man. And those that truly believe and have faith in Yahweh Shem El Shai, man, we, just pray to the Lord, man. Don't be worried about what's happening. You know what I mean? All these things that are about to happen, are ultimately prophecy, man. And the Lord is the one that's doing it. So just as the Lord is bringing these things about, and the Lord can deliver us from those situations as well, man. You know, so there's really nothing to worry about at this point, man. You know, just again, focus on, getting this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? Stay prayed up, stay watching. You know, so with that, Lord wills, edifying, Lord will, straight to the point. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak Wadash, the belongs to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, great millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.